Time now for Focus, and today we have a report from the US state of North Dakota, where scores of Dakota Access Pipeline protesters have been given until Wednesday to gather their belongings and evacuate a camp set up on federal land. This because of rising flood concerns. North Dakota's governor calling the camp one of the biggest environmental threats to clean water in the Missouri. But critics of the project, which Barack Obama had blocked, are standing firm, saying it threatens the water supply and sacred sites of Native American tribes. Gallagher Fenwick sent us this report, voiced by Josh Vardey.
They continue to fight on, even if the battle against the key access pipeline already seems lost. Activists have been occupying this land in North Dakota for months. The Native American Sioux tribe says that this is sacred land and that the pipeline project threatens to destroy a nearby river. Like many others, Justin Rowland lives by a simple rule.
Water is life. Without water, there can be no life. It's that simple. Water is life.
Justin may be clinging on to his beliefs, but even he acknowledges that the executive orders recently signed by President Donald Trump have been a terrible blow to the protesters. These decrees authorize building work to start again on the pipeline. Many of the protesters vow to fight on regardless.
Just pick up some supplies, I guess.
Yeah. I've been following, the situation, and, there might be less numbers, less people, but out of everyone I've talked to who's out here, the energy is still great, I think.
It's a different atmosphere here in the nearby town of Bismarck. These oil union workers smell victory.
This smells much like gas that you may put in your lawnmower or in your or diesel fuel in your car. Refiners like it. We want to get this oil to better market.
Trump was open on the campaign trail of his preference for fossil fuel exploitation. His victory has flipped the situation here. The oil pipeline is soon expected to be completed. According to the man who represents the local oil industry, a new era of energy independence has dawned.
President Trump was here in May, and he made his first energy speech in North Dakota. And he talked about the value of energy and the value of what oil means as a geopolitical tool, what our friends like the French might like to have our oil rather than buying oil from countries that you don't necessarily agree with.
Supporters of the key access pipeline project say the logistical and economic arguments are strong. The country's financial inspector says that the pipeline is more reliable, less risky, and above all cheaper than other methods of transportation. She also says that the project will help to bring in more revenue for the region.
The price for a barrel of oil here in North Dakota in the Bakken has been always less than like what Texas crude is, and that's because of the process of the transportation, the higher transportation costs. So I think, it may help spur some more oil activity out in the oil field, which in turn drives up the sales tax collections at the state and gives us more money at the county.
Some have already started to benefit from the pipeline's construction. Nearby landowners have already accepted compensation in exchange for having their land cut through with vast trenches to lay the pipe. This livestock farmer says that he prefers to keep the amount he was paid to himself, and, like many here, has little empathy for the protesters. He says that they are merely agitators whose words run in contradiction to their actions.
They want the oil to stay in the ground, but yet they all drive Suburbans and big expensive vehicles. They live in tents made out of plastic, which comes from oil. They wear tenny runners that come from oil. They're saying one thing and doing another. I don't think they understand.
Doug Hill claims there have been other negative consequences of the protesters' presence. He says they've caused frictions among local communities.
The thing is that the outsiders have come in and they've destroyed the relationship between the Native Americans and those of us who don't live on the reservation.
Which side?
On this side.
Of the river.
They're on that side of the river, I think.
Meanwhile, the Native Americans and their allies have been forced into retreat,
They're probably on the river itself.
even though they have exhausted almost all their options. Many refuse to give up the fight.
We have to be very strategic here at the Ocheti camp here with the water protectors and with the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. So as indigenous people, this isn't the first time that we confronted governmental actions that have really been acts of aggression against our people.
Last week, North Dakota's governor signed an order to finally evacuate the protest camp and its occupants almost a year after it first appeared.
For more on this, I'm now joined in the studio by Niels Planel, international consultant and expert in US politics. Hello, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Now, when North Dakota's governor says that the protest camp threatens clean water in the area, which is ironic when you consider why the camp was set up in the first place, is it actually just an excuse to get rid of these protesters?
Well, what you have here is an old problem where you're trying to build a pipeline on a Native American site, which has tremendous potential for accident where you could pollute the water, the air that they are breathing, the wildlife there. You also have environment that is saying that this Dakota access, but not only that issue, but the Keystone XL pipeline going all the way to the tar sands of the province of Alberta in Canada will, in effect, make CO2 emissions higher. In this problem, you have that side opposed to the big oil, groups, which it's going to be good for America. Sure, it's a multi-billion project, so you want to go ahead with that if you want to make big money. They say it's going to create jobs. It's actually not that true. It's going to take about a few thousand jobs, temporary jobs, to complete the projects, and then you only have like 100 jobs to take care of the maintenance of the project. And then they come up with this thing, energy security, which is in a sense to say it's better to get your oil from, Canada, a friendly country, or to actually produce it on your own territory rather than getting it, say, from Venezuela. But the thing is that the U.S. now is at its highest in terms of energy independence, quote, quote, since the 1960s. So it's not a very important project from that viewpoint. So all in all, it's a step backward if you are concerned about climate change and the environment. And I guess it's great if you want to make tons of money out of oil. That's what this project is about.
Well, I suppose then, in a way, you're setting out the different priorities. Barack Obama had blocked both of the pipeline projects you mentioned. Donald Trump, he wants to go ahead with them both. So are you suggesting then that, he doesn't, his administration so far hasn't shown much concern for the environment?
I think he's going to use the environment and climate as a bargaining chip. He's a negotiator, a shrewd negotiator. I think it's an issue for those who care about climate because you wouldn't want to use that as a bargaining chip. Sure. It also goes back to Sarah Palin. Remember when she was saying drill, baby, drill? That's the whole philosophy that is running within, I wouldn't say the Republican Party, because McCain, then the candidate, was, all in all in favor of climate change action. Having said that, that radical wing of the Republican Party that is embodied by Trump now is in power, and you're going to look at more projects like this in the future. One note of optimism, I would say, is James Baker, the former very prestigious Secretary of State in the 1990s, is now, who is part of the Republican establishment, is now proposing a carbon tax, saying, okay, we don't know if climate change is real, that's his vision, but in case it is, we want to, make sure that we tackle that issue way ahead of time, and you want to use a carbon tax because that's the way to not have the government mingling in, private sector issues.
You mentioned before that not that many jobs are actually going to be created in the areas affected. Yes. In what way, then, is life going to change, do you think, for the people in these areas, for Dakota and also the other Keystone XL?
I would say it's going to change in case there is an accident, in case you see some spill or leak, and I mean, we've seen that in Canada recently, in, I think it was last year, where you had a big accident near a lake. You've seen that in the Gulf of Mexico, where you had, what was it, I forget the name of the platform, which was...
BP.
Yeah, exactly, BP's platform, which was spilling for months. The damages, not only to the environment, but also in terms of money, were huge. So for the sake of, implementing this project, you're taking a big, big risk, because there is no pipeline today which you can say it's 150% sure that it's never going to leak. That's,
Always a bit of a gamble. All right, we appreciate your time and your
Thank you very
analysis. Thank you very much, Niels Plenel, for coming in. And